I literally don't got nothing to say to you. If you telling me that Demon Slayers did villains better than JJK, there's not a conversation. Alright, we got why Jujutsu Kai's having too much action actually is a problem. This is from Kevin Jones Reviews. Let's see what he's talking about.
So, yeah, if you saw the title of the
YouTube, what's going on, man?
Video, and unless you've been living under a rock for 6 months, you know what we're talking about today. It's finally time to talk about Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2. And of course, naturally, the IGN article that has lit the internet ablaze because it didn't say that this show is the greatest fucking thing ever. Well,
niggas are taking IGN serious? There's no way IGN had a take and it set the internet ablaze. I'm not believing that. If y'all are seriously taking IGN seriously, you need to look in the mirror. IGN hasn't hit since 2014. Come on now.
well,
That is not a place where you should be looking for reviews. It just not is. Come on, you gotta do better than that.
That's not totally fair. I have my issues with the article, as I imagine most people do. And also, if you are the kind of person who simply just enjoys Jujutsu Kaisen, you hear it gets a not stellar review and just think, oh, well, that's that guy, I'm me, let's just let bygones be bygones. This video is not for you. This video is for the legions of people who cannot take hearing someone say that their beloved battle shonen that is totally unique and different from all other battle shonen is anything less than perfect.
Well, I'm here to tell you, if you're a perfect battle shonen by your standards, if you start talking about some bullshit about why it's perfect and why it's not, I'm on his ass. It's that simple. That's why I'm here.
Y'all didn't like it when the guy simply just said, I don't think this is that great. So now you gotta deal with me. You gotta deal with the guy who actively has said, I don't like this show. But do not fret.
Oh, he doesn't like it. Oh, I got some words for you then.
I am not simply here to tell you it sucks. I don't even think it really sucks that much, to be honest. I am here to explain why, just because it's a battle shonen, that doesn't mean it should be non-stop fights, and why, yes, that is a problem. To do this, we will compare it to its contemporaries, and we will hopefully try and find some sort of...
Okay, I just want to say something real quick. This is my problem with JJK people like this. This is my problem. I watched a JJK video the other day where he was talking about there was reasons why he didn't like JJK, and the Shibuya arc completely changed his opinion. Right? And he said that the past arc, Gojo past arc, whatever the real name for that arc is called, he said it did nothing for him. And then you have niggas like this who says there is too much action, and we get an arc like Gojo's past arc. There is not a lot of action in there. There's more plot than there is action in that arc. There's more build up so we can understand what happened in the past. Do y'all just not take stuff like this into consideration when y'all drop whole videos like this? I'm gonna let him finish. Maybe he says something about it. We're only a 10% of the video, so let's see what he got to say.
Common ground here between those who love JJK and I guess just me and this guy who wrote the IGN article at this point. So yeah, let us begin with where it all starts. So, Shibuya arc, I don't really care. The first arc of this season, the prequel arc, was actually really good. I actually liked it a lot. Shibuya arc starts on Halloween night.
Okay, he says he likes the prequel arc. Okay.
When a bunch of invisible walls trap a ton of people in one of the busiest tourist-heavy sections of Tokyo. So y'all are thinking, oh, this is going to be really interesting. All these innocent people who know nothing about the world of supernatural have now had it thrown in front of them and now must try and, like, survive. That's really interesting. Maybe you could see how our...
There's no way you thought we were about to get a story on random civilians. That was a point of interest for literally 2 seconds. Like literally, that was a point of interest. There's no way your brain came to that conclusion off of seeing them come to like Shibuya like that.
Our various main characters have to deal with the fact that Cat is out of the bag, and all these people they must protect are probably one step away from losing their minds in fear, right? Wrong.
Yeah, because you're the only person who thought that. That's why no one said right to that.
That doesn't really come into play at any point. The story never uses the civilian captives to its advantage.
No one except for you in the universe thought that was gonna happen. Literally nobody. This this is literally Kenjaku's attempt at his master plan. He just needed a place to lure them in. And this is the reason why he picked Shibuya, because there could have been this target for all these humans. But we quickly learned that that is not his goal. If you were paying attention to anything that was going on in the Shibuya arc, you would have realized that.
It never tries to make the situation feel unique or special. It instead...
What do you mean? The situation is unique. In every single... The most powerful person in the JJK world is trapped. No one has no idea what's going to happen in Shibuya. There's curses running rampant. So the unique problem is, how is the JJK world gonna stop these curses without Gojo? That's the unique problem that we have not seen in JJK yet. So you're already wrong like 3 times in this video already.
Instead, always just focuses on what our next battle is, hence the issue with too many fights. And before any of you say, well, yeah, that's the point, we just got to get to the next battle, let's point out a couple things, shall we?
Look, this is what I'm going to say. For someone who has a problem that it had too much fights, maybe you should pay attention to the story. Maybe the fights was drawing your attention away from what was actually happening in Shibuya, and it just went through one ear and out the other. But if you actually were paying attention, nothing you said is correct at all, in no capacity.
In My Hero Academia, every time we build up to a major event or a major arc, we always make sure to establish what is going on in the world. As said event is happening, we see various examples of how regular everyday people...
Now, I see what your attempt at what you're trying to do here, but there's no way in no Heavenly's Blue universe did you just try to draw a point from one of the most flopped shonens ever. There's no way you just did that. This makes me want to take this video 10 times less seriously, because the Shibuya arc is it blows any arc of My Hero out of the goddamn water, and it's not even close. So to pull this up as a comparison is ludicrous. I'm not even gonna lie to you. It's just like your credibility is so far down for me. You got a lot of work to do in these 10 minutes.
Or at the very least, local superpowered people are reacting to what is happening.
I mean, this is another thing too. It's like, this is what I say, like, you weren't paying attention. I forgot the name, but the people in the suits in the JJK world, we see that they are communicating with people, trying to tell them to do their best to rescue the civilians and make sure the civilians are okay. You even see the Umamaki, or the dude with the zipper. We see him for 2 seconds, but what is he doing? He's fighting the regular curses to keep the humans safe. That's all the information that you need to be able to see to realize that there are JJK people in the Shibuya arc fighting the regular curses to keep the humans safe. You don't need a full definition or a character saying it or anything. I don't know what you need to come to that conclusion. There's so much things there to infer that that's what's going on.
that makes the world feel more alive and active, like it's this big, huge place. In the Shibuya arc, everything feels really small. And not just due to the fact that they're in this one area. It is due to the fact that I don't really feel like there's a big world happening. We're never really seeing how a lot of people react besides their first initial reactions to what's happening. I know there's like the turn in Gojo chant and all that, but that lasted like a minute, and I'm sort of sick and tired of the stupid mob mentality against the hero type thing. We do that way too much and do nothing interesting with it. But we don't see how the world is reacting. We don't really see how even a lot of other...
What do you mean the world? No one knows what's going on here. You had to not pay attention. I am coming to the conclusion that you didn't pay a singular attention. Cell phones weren't working. No one in there could communicate out. So the world has no idea what's going on. The world is completely oblivious. No one knows what's going on. So what do you mean a world reaction? Well, did we get a world reaction after? Yes, we did. All you gotta do is look at the last episode of the series. We get plenty of world reaction after the series of the Shibuya incident.
Other JJK sorcerers are reacting to everything going on. It just sort of happens. And yes, I know the plot is happening in real time, but just doing anything to make the world feel more real and alive, I think would really help here. The IGN article talks about how the guy likes the story more when it talks about the bigger world of JJK as a whole.
I'm not gonna lie. What JJK are y'all watching? What JJK are y'all niggas watching? Jujutsu Kaisen is literally about Japan. No other country. This is not indicated. It's like indicated one time that there's not even. I don't think it's indicated ever that there's sorcerers outside of Japan. We know the whole story is in Japan. Most of the things that happen are where the sorcerers are. What are you talking about this world? It's already been indicated that all these things happen in Japan. That is the plot of JJK. That is the setting.
Well, now you have a big world event happening and you don't...
It's not a world event. It's a Japan event. It's a Shibuya event.
Expand it really much at all. It just feels kind of small. Well, maybe you can use our main characters as the vessels for the world getting bigger. They don't do that. You see, for the most part, I don't think JJK really has characters as much as I feel like it has entities who have a character trait or two. What I mean by that is, for the most part, no one really ever grows or changes in this story.
Oh, God. Oh, my goodness Christ. Oh, my goodness Christ. No one changes. What is the past arc? Bro, what is the name of that robot at the beginning of the Shibuya arc? The robot guy. He literally... Bro, like... There's so many characters that have changed in this little 2-series span that we've got. Little development. It's only been 2 seasons. Do you niggas need a mountain of character development? We get introduced to Toji and he gets plenty of characterization and development. We see how he comes and we see how he ends. That's a completely... How Toji is introduced and how Toji leaves is the most... is two completely different characters almost. That's character development. That's a character... Something happened that made him change what he was going to do. We know what happened if you watched. But there's so many things that happen in JJK that I think that you guys gloss over and you try to take it away. I think there's plenty of flaws in JJK, but these are not the ones. You are missing right here. You are missing here, and you're missing terribly.
Is always just sort of the edgy best friend. Nabaru is always sort of like the loudmouth girl. Gojo's always just the fun-loving guy. Characters kind of...
It's just... Did you not... This is the thing, too. And you say these things like you're completely right. And you're just wrong. Go Gojo was like that. He changed from the past arc. And if you didn't see the change, you're just, hey bro, I don't know what to tell you. Geto, the most important person of the story so far, he's changed. This is the whole reason why JJK is where it's at right now. So it's like, what are we talking about? It's been 2 seasons. And this is a crazy thing too. Another thing, look where season 2 ended off at. Do you not think that in this next upcoming arcs that we're gonna get, where Gojo and all these Megami and the Itadori, where they're all gonna be fighting for their life against the whole JJK, like because they've been outcasted? Do you think we're not gonna get character development there? Do you think we're not gonna get changes in character if Nobara comes back after she almost fucking died? After Megami almost died? Do you not think we're about to get any character changes here? Like, come on, bro.
Kind of need to feel like they're going somewhere, or there's a sense of trajectory for where they're heading. Black Clover is a perfectly good example of a series where, even if they're not the most like in-depth characters in the world, I feel like it does a good job of trying to make everyone feel relevant, or at least the characters who need to feel relevant, and showing how what's going on affects them individually.
Now, Black Clover is one of my favorite new shonens ever. Immaculate. Black Clover and JJK are completely 2 different shows. Black Clover is literally about the I forgot the names, the clans that they're in. That's what Black Clover is about. Yes, Asta and Yuno are important, but the essential story around Black Clover are about the clans. So of course, we have had character development for so many different niggas and so many different clans. I mean, I keep forgetting what the name of the Black Bulls, the squads. That's what it is, the squads. We've gotten so much different character development for so many different squads. I mean, it's just a completely different type of show than JJK. This is a comparison. Let me see. This is like comparing Dragon Ball to JJK. It's like, what are we doing? It just doesn't make sense. When you talk in terms of characterization, like you're talking about a series that is surrounded by the same 7-8 individuals that's the series been around the entire time. Of course, they're gonna have so much character development. It's been out. Black Clover is damn near almost 200 episodes. Jujutsu Kaisen with its 2nd season is going on to damn near 45. Of course, it's not gonna have the same character development that Black Clover's had in a almost 200 episode span. Of course not. We've been through like damn near 9 arcs. It's just, come on, like it's just a bad point. It's a bad comparison.
And how they then grow from it later. And I feel like with JJK, a lot of people put the blame, even people who like the show a lot, on Yuji, the protagonist, that he's the problem. Yuji's a loser. He cries too much. He's always in the background, blah, blah, blah. I actually kind of like Yuji.
Oh, that's the best take you had all day. Best take you had all day. I said it a million times. I'll say it again. Yuji is not a bad character. Y'all just don't know how characters work, and it's sad to see when it comes to a show like JJK. Itadori is gonna be a brilliant character. Just give him a couple arcs. Just give him a couple arcs. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Just wait.
More on paper than in execution, but that's how I sum up most of JJK. I think the idea of a down-to-earth, likable guy who's just trying to get by can work very well, hence Denji and Chainsaw Man, who is a much better Yuji in pretty much every way. And why is that? Because
This is just look. This is I'm gonna draw the differences here, and this is why I hate when we bring. This is why I hate when Yuji gets compared to other characters like this, for example. This nigga literally been living with a devil. He's been hunting demons or whatever they're called in the world. He is familiar with his verse. This is nothing new for him. He's been doing it. That's how he was making his money. That's his character. Yuji came into the JJK world. He lived his whole life knowing not anything about the world. Just like another hated character from Demon Slayer. They come into this world. Of course, they don't have the character the characterization that a character like this will have, because they don't have the past in the world that this character has. It's just two different things. They're coming into this world fresh. They have to go through these battles, and they have to develop their characterization, just like Yuji did in this arc. It's that simple.
Because Denji has a much more relatable, straightforward goal, and you see him actively pursue it. Yuji, despite being likable, just kind of...
This is also a horror. This is one of the things that I hate about when y'all talk about characters. People love to talk about a character, and they love to talk about how good a character is based on how relatable it is. It's one of the goofiest things I heard of ever. Maybe because personally, I don't need to relate to a character to like a character. How are you going to relate to a character where if he doesn't fight, he's dead? You're not in that situation. Of course you're not going to relate to Yuji. His grandpa died, nigga ate a finger, and now he's being told, okay, well, if you don't collect all these fingers, you're done. And if you do collect all the fingers, there might be a chance that you're done regardless. No matter what you do, you're hoed. You can't relate to that. So relatability is such a garbage topic when you talk about characters. I can't stand it.
Drifts through the series, just kind of does things based on what happens to them. He doesn't really have like a big end game he's reaching to.
Okay, like this what I mean by y'all don't pay attention to the story. The nigga's end game is to stay alive. Is to not die. That's his only option. What are we talking about?
Denji doesn't have a huge end game either. For the most part, Denji literally just wants to get a hot girlfriend he can fondle and live in a comfortable apartment. That is all he wants. But the reason the story works is because it keeps that in the forefront.
No. The reason why Denji works and the reason why the story works is because he's a simple character. He already has his characterization. He's introduced as this character and he doesn't change. And people like what he was introduced at. People like when Denji's first introduced, people already liked him in the first episode. And then he doesn't change. At least he hasn't changed yet. Maybe he will change in the future. But how can you like Yuji off the beginning of the story? His grandpa died. Like, I mean, he was going through things. He's not, so was Denji, but he has a different type of personality than Yuji. It's different circumstances that they're going in. What Denji wants is completely different from what Yuji wants. Like, the two different characters.
His goal and his desires is what we're always seeing the story striving to. Yes, there's a million roadblocks in the way, but that's storytelling. Here, I don't feel like Yuji has a particularly strong motivation or goal. Now, yes, you could say, oh yeah, he doesn't want the world to be destroyed by Sukuna or to die. Alright, fine. Joseph Joestar is one of my fucking favorite characters ever, and he can kind of be summed up to something similar to that. But Joseph has a big, over-the-top, lambastic personality. Yuji doesn't, and for that reason, he doesn't really excel at either side of the character spectrum, so he's just kind of there.
I don't know anything about Joey Joestar. I'm not gonna watch JoJo for a life in me. It's not. It's never gonna happen. But there's already a character in the series that is very extra. It's just not his. It's that's not where he's gonna be. That's not his character. Like, it's okay to not like him, but you have to not like him for his personality. You can't not like him for things that are out of his control. I mean, if you don't like him for his personality, then that is what it is. I mean, that's okay. But saying that he has like no characterization, he's a lame character, that just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't.
When all these big things happen, like, and I'm sorry, spoiler alert, character deaths, the total just fucking nuking of Tokyo, and all these other things, I don't think they really build to anything. I don't think they really have a huge impact.
On who? On Yuji?
On where anything is going, because our protagonist just kind of keeps going on the trajectory he was going to. Nothing.
I don't even know what else you want me to say. There's literally a whole episode where Yuji breaks down, where he's at a roadblock. Because the scenario that he's in is unlike any other scenario ever seen. It's either he lives and he has to risk Sukuna coming out and doing what he does, or he dies and he has to risk the same thing. But the difference is he's alive in one of those scenarios. He feels like he has to combat the evil that is done on his other side. Like, of course, he's in a sticky situation. What do you want his goal to be? You want his goal to be to become the best sorcerer in JJK?
He was doing was changed by Shibuya getting 9/11. Nothing he had to do was different after losing Nanami or Nabaru. These are big deals. That should be great in theory, and I don't think they're just deaths for shock value like the article states. I think these are very important moments that could be great if you built on them. But
I mean, what do you mean if they're built on them? They just happen. We have no idea how he's gonna take them. The Shibuya incident ended right after the fight. What do you want him to do? Have a breakdown after every character dies when he has curses in front of him that he has to fight, or he dies? He has to brush that shit off and continue fighting, or he's gonna be next up. Every time someone dies, he has the immediate reaction to their death. Immediate. It's not like he just sees it and keeps fighting. He has an immediate reaction. He gets angry. He gets sad. And then he has to continue to do what he has to do. But we have no idea how that's going to affect him yet, because we haven't even had a chance to get there. Can we get a chance to get there? Can you complain after we're there? Can you complain if they take the swing at the ball and they miss? You're complaining and the batter ain't even stepped up to plate yet.
The fact that immediately we have to cut to another big fight that is also the most big, epic, end-of-the-world stakes ever just kind of results in nothingness. I don't feel any sense of progression from scene to scene. That's why the deaths feel like shock value. It's not because they're very important, but because you then don't feel their impact on the next series of plot.
So you're telling me, listen here, look me in my eyes. You're telling me that the impact has to be the next scene. The impact can't come later? Bro, you anime niggas need to wrap it up. You need to wrap it up. You need to wrap it up. There are so many scenarios, and some of the for example, For example, I'm gonna give you an example. And Steins Gate, I'm not gonna spoil it for nobody. Maybe you ain't seen it. One of my favorite shows ever. This is a show that solidifies itself by giving you an impactful scene and then not giving you the direct impact of the scene till later. And because things get built up in between that scene, when they go to impact what happened before, the impact is 4x. It changes the whole story around because you learn some things. You get more information about something. And if you know, you know. If you don't, I advise you to go watch it and you'll understand. But you do not have to see the impact of a scene right after. It's one of the weakest. That is one of the weakest points of an argument I ever heard in my life. That's one-dimensional storytelling. And some of your favorite stories do not do that. That's just a sad point. That's just like, what are we doing here? We need to have the most craziest breakdown scene right after Nabar dies in the middle of plot. When so much is going on in Shibuya, that doesn't even make sense. It doesn't make sense to the scenario. Think about the scenario. Think about it. For another example, when Naruto's fighting Madara, and Naruto and everybody's fighting Madara, and Might Guy comes in, he opens all the gates. And he does his final attack, and he's sitting there looking like he's dead. Do you know what happened? Someone picks him up and they take him away. We know who that was. But do you think anybody there had a breakdown scene? No. Madara is still there. He has to be dealt with. Niggas can't just have a impact scene immediately because of the scenario. I mean, we get more information that makes the scene not as impactful as it could have been, but that's how the story was wrote. This is just a weak-ass argument. This is a weak-ass point. It's gotta be the worst point that I ever heard in my life.
Points, it just doesn't feel like anything. The last thing I would like to talk about real quick, because we're running out of time here, are the villains.
Now, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this to you right now. If you got anything bad to say about the villains in JJK, bro, you need to wrap up your anime career. Anime is not for you. You need to go stick to Teen Titans Go. You need to go watch some cartoons. Because this character that we're looking at on the screen is masterfully written. One of the best villains to come into any shonen in the past 5 years. Easily. It's not even close. So let's see what you're talking about.
JJK's villains have become super popular because they all look really cool, are really evil, and have really interesting powers. And while I agree with all this, I also think they're very boring. You see, I've brought up before that I have a problem with modern day villain writing. I don't like the fact that a lot of bad guys' entire characterization is they've got a sad backstory.
Okay, so what's the problem with Mahito? Because that's not the case.
That's not to say I shouldn't think villains shouldn't have backstory, but a bad guy should still just be a bad guy. But you should always try and build on what them being bad means. Whether it's because they have the tragic backstory or because just something went wrong. I feel like the key to a good villain is finding that balance between relatability and...
God damn it, and you niggas with relatability, bro. What do you need to relate to a villain for? Nigga, do you relate with Thanos? Do you relate with Madara? Bro, you are, boy. This gotta be some of the worst arguing I ever heard in my goddamn life. It's not even close. You're talking about an evil person. Why do you need to relate to an evil person? In what spectrum? In what universe? And then when some relatability does happen with a villain, it's not as impactful with Pain because he's still a human, right? and he got talked to his senses, Pain is looked at as a lesser villain because of that. He will never be the best villain in Naruto, and that's by a lot of people. A lot of people have said that. He's my favorite villain in Naruto, but he will never be a lot of people because he had that relatability, because that's the reason why he lost, because he did something soft in the end. He related to Naruto, which was a hero that niggas could relate to. But in most cases, relatability should not be what you're looking for in a villain. Yes, it has its pros when it's done right, but this is not a downside. In no universe ever should you need to relate to a villain. That is not what you need for a villain to be good.
Pure fear of them. JJK tries to avoid the common problem nowadays of the villain being too relatable by instead making the villains so unrelatable, I just don't care about any of them.
Yeah, bro, you might be the weirdest nigga on planet Earth. And maybe this is why you have a problem with JJK having too much action, because you're just weird. Because the fact that you need to sit down and relate to a villain to like him is absolutely insane. That's absolutely insane to me.
I don't care about the main bad guy. I don't care about Yuji's arch nemesis. I don't care about this fucker. I don't care about that fucker. Because they're not interesting. They don't have any motivation. They don't have any real reason to do this besides, we are curses and we are evil.
That's the point, bro. That's the point. Nigga, they're curses. They are literally the embodiment of evil. That's the point. You know what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to take that and you're supposed to be like, okay, that's their goal. That's what they are. They're the embodiment of evil. So what else could make a character interesting? Well, the way that they go about themselves. The way Mahito goes about his every time he fights someone. How he just merciless. How he just doesn't give a fuck. How he just on BT every single time. That's what will make a character, that's what will make a villain like this interesting. But when you just take the idea of, oh, they're just evil, I can't like them. Just because they're evil and because that's the whole point of their character. They're accursed, they're evil. They're just hellbound on evilness. If you just take that and throw it in the garbage, of course you're not going to like the character. Of course you're not going to think any of the villains are of course you're not going to think they're interesting. You're taking the whole core value and putting it in the garbage. They are side characters to the main antagonist. They are curses. They are not real. They are not humans. They are curses made out of negative energy, straight evil. What type of goal do you want them to have? Just like Sukuna, what goal does he have? He doesn't have one. He's just a curse. He's evil. That's the whole point of these niggas. That's the point.
And yes, you may say that is the point to them.
Yeah,
that
what's the
they
rebuttal?
Are born from pure human evil, and that is what we are watching on screen. Then, like in Demon Slayer, just kill them off. Villains in Demon Slayer are not that interesting or compelling. Just like in JJK, they're mostly just really evil with really
You want to know the difference here? Do you want to know the difference? I'm going to tell you the difference because clearly you don't lack you don't have the skill to come to conclusions. The difference here is every villain in Demon Slayer is only around for an arc. Except for the main one. Any villain that we get introduced into Demon Slayer is never around for long. Because they get introduced and they get killed. The spiders in the beginning. Of course you're not going to like them. They were there for fucking 6 episodes. There was 4 of them and they all died. The new one that just was here. Or the brother and sister. Like there's not nothing to like about them. They're here for a little bit and they die. But the difference with JJK is that these are the villains that we've been seeing since the beginning. We've seen fights, we've seen their actions, we've seen how they carry themselves, we've seen plenty of things that could gather a liking. You've seen plenty of it by now. And yes, most of them died, so who knows who's gonna be next. But for the villains that we've had now, this is just horrible comparison. You're comparing them to villains that come in for an arc and are gone. It's not the same.
Interesting gimmicks and powers, but because the story understands there's not a lot you can do with them past the surface level, it just makes sure to get rid of them at the end of the arc so we can move on to more bad guys. But here, they...
Bro, I don't got nothing to say to you, bro. I literally don't got nothing to say to you. If you telling me that Demon Slayers did villains better than JJK, there's not a conversation.
Just don't go away. And I'm forced to remember over and over again, there is nothing to them besides being creepy and scary, and it just after a while just makes them dull.
Here's the major difference. Because these villains have been around in the series since the beginning of the series, what happens? These characters have a fear for these characters, for some of these villains. They put a spot, just like you said, they're creepy. They're feared. You can feel that. When a Mojito comes on the screen, you know someone might die. Something is gonna happen when Mojito's here. Because that's the character he was built into. But these villains from Demon Slayer, they have no impact. This is why Demon Slayer is disregarded for his plot, for his characterization. This is why people say it's carried by its animation. Because one of the main impacts of the stories are the villains. And they have no impact to the story at all. So the thing that you're praising Demon Slayer for is its downfall. There is no conversation to be had here. You are just wrong. Your opinion for a villain is absolutely garbage.
And uninteresting. And I think this kind of just means we should probably get to the final point. We've gone on a little long here. I mean, this is the biggest anime in the world, so might as well. Just to summarize real quick. If, like I said at the beginning, if you heard all this and you still like JJK, that is perfectly fine. Keep watching it. Keep enjoying this. If you watched it and you still like JJK and you're just mad at me for saying anything bad about that, let me pause it.
I'm not mad at you for saying bad for JJK. I am open for criticism. We are open for criticism over here. But you gotta make a good point. Your point's gotta make sense. And what you're doing here is you're grasping at straws. You're just trying to find any reason to not like the show. And maybe you genuinely think these reasons that you don't like the show, maybe those are like genuine. You truly feel the way you feel about that. Your opinion is just bad. And that's okay. That's okay. But when you get on here on the internet and you start preaching your opinion for people to see, then people like me are going to eat it up and we're going to spit it out.
One last idea to you. If your big defense of this show is that it's an incredible spectacle and that's all that should matter, here's the thing. Lots of people enjoy fireworks shows, and lots of people enjoy movies. Do you really remember the 4th of July fireworks show you saw 10 years ago?
Well, you're arguing that this point has nothing to do with me, because that's not what I think. I think the fights that go on with JJK is a cherry on top to a plot that's developing. to a story that's getting better. Unlike Demon Slayer, where the plot is one dimensional, right? Where the plot is we know exactly where it's gonna go. We know what's gonna happen. If anybody knows what's gonna happen at the end of Demon Slayer, most of you can assume. If you never heard any leaks, you can come to a close close gist of the plot of what's gonna happen in Demon Slayer. So when you say Demon Slayer is just animation, it's just spectacle. Okay, maybe you have a point. Maybe your point is a little better. But with JJK, you cannot infer the plot. You have no idea what's going to happen. That's a part of the plot in JJK. There's character development that's going to happen. And if character development never happens, but y'all can strike me down. If you're a manga reader and you're like, there's no character development happening in JJK, he's just hoping. I'm going to be wrong when I see it. I'll admit it when it gets there. But it's going to happen. And I'm so certain of it. There's going to be character development and the plot is not one-dimensional. So these beautiful scenes that we're seeing, it's a cherry on top. This is a smoothie. It's not the best smoothie. It's not the best shake. It's a shake. It's not the best shake in the universe, but it's a great shake with the excellent cherry on top. With some Oreo sprinkles on top of that motherfucker.
I'm going to take a guess and assume no. Do you remember your favorite movie from 10 years ago and why you like it and probably talk about it? I'm going to take a shot in the dark and assume yes. With that, this is where I leave you today. As always, click to like, click to subscribe. Tell me what you think about JJK regardless. Your opinion is your own, and that's just fine. And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and join me going forward as we try to deliver the most hot of hot takes of shows that just kind of don't matter, and just enjoy what you enjoy.
And let me correct that for you. You tried to deliver the most garbage of garbage takes on YouTube. Because that's what you did today. That's what you did today, buddy. So you liked the video. You'll like this one too. Go ahead and click on that. Yeah. You're still here? So you don't fuck with me? Alright, I'ma just